welcome to Soap Hub Says. I'm Amber Sinclair, the managing editor of SoapHub.com.
I'm Alina Adams. I write for Soap Hub, but I also write books. I wrote Oakdale Confidential and The Man from Oakdale, which was featured on As the World Turns, and I wrote Jonathan's Story for Guiding Light. My new book is called Go On Pretending, and shocker, I know, it's also about soaps.
We'll be here every week talking about what we loved, what we hated, and what we have questions about for every show. I think this week we should kick off with General Hospital.
General Hospital. We have to start there because another stalker. I mean, what are the odds? Statistically speaking, so many stalkers. I mean, I guess it's not as bad as Salem. Was it Salem Strangler, Salem Stalker, Salem? There were other ones. But General Hospital's also not doing well in the stalker territory. So, all right, Amber, theories. Who is it?
Okay, so I've seen fans talk about it just being straight up Sidwell, right? I think that's too easy.
Well, and also, isn't he busy? I mean, when does he have time to stalk? Stalking is very time consuming. You got to follow boring people around, wait for them to be by themselves. I worry. I mean, the man's busy. Do you really think he has stalking, or does he have like a little calendar where 2:30 to 2:45 stalk?
Imagine his day planner if he's the one. Meeting 1 to 2, stalking 2 to 3.
Washing hands afterwards because he's tight.
Right? I've seen fans speculate that it's Nell. And
Nell has a more stalker-esque personality, but she's also, what's the word I'm looking for, dead.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, I know. It's a soap. It's a soap. Or, wait a minute. What if Willow has a split personality where she's Nell the stalker?
Yeah. See, Willow stalking Sasha would make a lot more sense to me. Or Nell stalking Sasha than Sidwell stalking Sasha?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, once again, we're back to, doesn't Sidwell have better things to do? But if Willow, because I was actually working at ABC when they did the Loving Murders, another stalker storyline. Small towns are so dangerous. I had no idea. I've lived in large towns my whole life. I had no idea that I was safer there than I was in small towns. And the whole thing on Loving is they were really trying to make you think that Trisha was the stalker, but it was actually her mother, Gwen, who thought she was Trisha. So when she was actually caught, she kept saying, no, it's Trisha. So maybe this is the same thing. Maybe Willow has a split personality where she's Nell and Nell's the stalker. Or it could be Nell. Hey, I like Chloe Benson. I would love to see Nell again, but I don't know. She does have a lot more free time because the dead have a lot more free time than the living. Or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Do you know what'd be really fun? Really fun is if it's Jason with a split personality.
Oh, and is his split personality the good Jason? He used to be the one with the ugly Christmas sweaters. It's good Jason. It's Jason Quartermain versus Jason Morgan.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We should send this to General Hospital.
They do love to hear input.
Yes.
Well, so here's the thing I got to tell you. So I have been watching soaps for 45 years. Actually, for a long time, I've been saying I've been watching soaps for 40 years. And then I did some math this morning, and I realized I've been watching soaps for 45 years because the very first show I started watching was General Hospital, Luke and Laura on the Run, summer of 1980. So it's been 45 years. And soaps have only truly surprised me 2 times. And I'm going to tell you what they were. The first one was on General Hospital. There was a time when Luke was trapped in an avalanche and he was paralyzed and everybody thought he was dead. And at the same time, evil communists. Okay, they weren't technically communists. Nobody used the word communist, but it was like they were from the other side. They were the DVX. They were against the WSB. So not communists, fake communists, fominists, were invading Port Charles because obviously if you were going to invade the United States from the Eastern Bloc, a small city in upstate New York would be where you would do it. And it was like, who's the sleeper spy? Who's the sleeper spy? Now, I pretty much figured out that it was Luke's physical therapist, Natalie, because even though I was only like maybe 12 or 13 years old, I noticed that every time they had a scene talking about, who is the super secret spy, the next shot would have Natalie in it. So even at 12, I kind of figured that out. But it turned out that her contact was this character called Grant, played by Brian Patrick Clark, who was Celia Quartermain's fiance, and he was just like boring and white bread. And that was the first time that a soap truly, truly shocked me, that it was Grant. Then 10 years later, or roughly about that, as I said, 45 years, everything tends to merge. But right about 10 years later, Anna was being stalked Again, not by Sidwell, not by Nell, because Nell would have probably been a fetus at the time. But she was being stalked by someone called the Snowman.
My God.
Yeah, the Snowman kidnapped Anna, and then he killed the woman who had been working as her nanny. Oh, and he put Robin into a coma where she was no, she wasn't in a coma. She was catatonic and she couldn't speak, which was fabulous, because any day Robin couldn't speak was, great for me. But anyway, so who is the Snowman? Who is the Snowman? It was Grant! Again, played by Brian Patrick Clark, although he was a different Grant. The one who was a Russian spy was Grant Andrews, who had stolen the identity of Grant Putnam. This was the real Grant Putnam. But the point is, I have only been truly shocked twice in my life, in my soap opera watching life. Both were on General Hospital. Both were about Grant. So my theory, who is the poor Charles Stalker? It's Grant. I'm going with Grant. Anytime I have to guess something on General Hospital, it's Grant. Okay. But here's the big question. Do we think that if Willow is Nell or if Willow isn't Nell, will she and Drew make it? And here's the most important part. Will anyone care?
I have not heard from one single fan who enjoys Willow and Drew as a couple. If there is one, please drop it in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it, because it definitely seems to swing negative. Let's put it this way, the feedback. But here's my question. Let's get deep and existential here. Do even Willow and Drew want to be together? Or has it sort of turned into the principle of the thing? Like, when you cheat on someone, it's like, oh, I don't know. Let's say if we had a president, before he was a president, he was married to this woman, and together they were just like this massive power couple. They fit together so well. They both were publicity whores, so they loved to be on TV. And this person who was not yet the president was caught in an affair with, let's say, another woman who had a name and a first name and a last name that started with the same letter. And then he kind of had to leave his wife to marry her because he had to make a statement. I wasn't just cheating, it was deep, true love. So I'm wondering if Willow and Drew are in a very similar position where they don't really want to be together, but so many people are giving them grief that they have to claim it's a massive love affair, because that's the only thing that would justify them just being idiots.
Yeah, because I can't, it's not hitting for me. I know for me, this Willow and Drew thing is just creepy and icky and
But you know who is hitting it for me? On The Young and the Restless, they're not a couple, but Kane and Amanda, I'm liking it, I'm loving it, I want to see it.
I need it. I need it. I need it all the time.
Even when they're not together, kind of like what we saw at the end of today's episode, where she's the one who's watching the screens for him, and he sends her the text, basically, take care of it, and she's got this look of, yeah, I will, even though I'm wearing a not attractive shirt. But, so for me, I think they could really work well together. The only problem, I think, is that Michelle Morgan's been off the canvas for a while, and Billy Flynn is a new Kane. So they're kind of peripheral to the action. And one of the things soaps have always shown is that if you want viewers to care, you kind of have to pull them into the characters they already care about. Amanda's been gone for too long, and this is a new Kane, so I don't know. But maybe if we start to get really invested in the Kane versus Victor thing, but how invested can we be when not only does Victor always win, but here, serious? I mean, you talk about punching down.
Okay. Victor is taking on bigger and badder than Kane. This is a nouveau riche man, okay, who nobody had respect for when he left town. And
nobody has respect for now.
Nobody has respect for now.
I mean, it's hard to see this as a matchup of the Titans. I mean, Victor and Jack, yes.
Yes.
Even when we had Ashland Locke.
Victor and Tucker.
Ashland Locke, these are the more recent people. Even though they were relatively new, you still believed they had some gravitas. Don't you keep expecting Victor to pat Kane on the head?
Yes. It's okay, kiddo.
That's so cute. Look at you. Look who's a good mogul. Who's a good mogul.
Like, you expect him to hand over a diaper bag and be like, it's okay, buddy, let's go to the park and play.
Well, it's almost like you almost think Victor has more respect for Billy because all of his, stupid Billy boy stuff and all of his baiting of Billy, it's childish, it's immature, but you might think he at least is threatened a little bit like Billy. He hasn't even given Kane a nickname like, hello, cutesy Kane, or something like that. He hasn't given, he's just like talking to him like one of his kids. And you know what a high opinion he has of his kids and their abilities to do anything.
The only way Kane can win against Victor at all is if he has like Billy and Adam, maybe.
Yeah,
And Jill would need to come back. Jill could take on Victor.
Yeah, well, obviously, Jill could do this. No, we weren't talking about Jill. We were talking about patting little Kane on the head. Besides the fact that Victor wins everything anyway, I'm just really not feeling this challenge. But let's take a moment to visualize Victor versus Amanda is different than Victor versus...
That is different.
Yeah, she could hold her own. She absolutely
could. Yes, absolutely. I can see that. And
Victor is going to have, he's probably going to lose one of his little hench people. Yes, I know he calls them children, and I'm sure he used to tax deduct them. But at this point, they're his hench people. He's already told Adam, you have to go break Billy or whatever that was. And Chelsea said, oh, no, that would be bad. And Chelsea, would never do anything bad. So how could you do something bad? So he's going to write off Adam. Nick has spent most of this visit in France, I don't know, looking for people in the maze, standing there with his arms crossed. I'm not really sure while Nick is there. But meanwhile, Victoria isn't even there because Victoria is all stressed out about Cole. And I only have one question. Why did we bring Cole back so Cole could die? I mean, what's the point? Why not just leave him off screen? You might need him again. He wasn't bothering anybody.
Right? Like, send him back to wherever.
England. I think he's teaching England. He's teaching English in England, which is also kind of funny. But okay, I can see. So Cole dies. We're all really sad. Are we supposed to reunite Victoria and Nate? Is this supposed to drive Claire towards Holden? All of those things can happen without dead Cole, because here's the thing, dead Cole doesn't matter. It's like we'll have weeks and weeks and we haven't heard anything about a sick Cole. And do you miss him? I don't miss him.
I forgot Cole existed.
See, every time, whenever he pops up, I'm like, he exists. I forgot that Cole existed because he was off screen for so long. So it's not really for the drama. Do we particularly care? Victoria could have reunited with Nate anyway, especially if we think that Audra, the whole point is Audra is supposed to sleep with Kyle so that Claire will dump Kyle. But if Nate finds out that Audra slept with Kyle, Nate will be free as well, and he and Victoria can get together without a dead ex-husband. I'm just really missing where the drama is here.
Yeah. You know who does have the drama, though, is Beyond the Gates.
Beyond the Gates. They do have the drama, but remember how we were just talking about how Victor is, big Victor, and Kane is just like a little boy? Well, yeah. I'm getting a very similar vibe from like Vernon and Martin. The show has been on the air for what, 4 or 5 months now, and everyone is telling us Martin is this amazing congressman. He's basically just a chip off his grandfather. Vernon, he's, Martin, he's obviously named after Martin Luther King. He's so compelling. He's so smart. Well, first of all, I haven't heard anything about his policies, and as someone who is interested in politics, I would love to hear his policies. But for now, I'm sorry, we just spent a whole week of Vernon and Martin threatening Kenneth. Remember the guy who I used to call Lurky? Lurky has a name. Lurky's name is Kenneth. And they both are threatening him, and they just sounded kind of desperate. I know they were supposed to be threatening. We're rich. We're throwing our weight around. But I couldn't. It was funny. I'm sorry. When Martin tried to be threatening, it was just funny. But I will say the show is doing a fabulous job. You know how they always tell you in writing, show, don't tell. So they've been telling us, but what they're doing a great job of showing is Martin is the classic, quintessential example of a spoiled rich kid who from the time he was in the crib, he was the firstborn grandson, he was the firstborn grandchild, and he's the firstborn grandson. Everyone was leaning over his crib going, goo goo gaga, you're the smartest, you're the most wonderful, you are destined for such great things. This is someone who's never been told no in his entire life. And now Lurky is telling him no, and the dude can't handle it. Did you see his little meltdown? He picked up his, his drum bag, and he threw it, and he was acting exactly like a toddler having a tantrum. I mean, Nepo baby to the extreme. So they're really, really showing us how spoiled and effective he is. And remember before when he wanted to run for president. So, okay, you're an idiot because you have this big secret in your past. And Vernon said to him, no, you cannot run for president because of this big secret in your past. I think Vernon was trying to say, no, you can't run for president because you're very bad at things. You've been elected to Congress because you're my grandson, and I have a lot of friends, and I pulled a lot of strings, and I probably showed up at a lot of your campaign stops. But you're very, very bad bad at things. And they're all terrified of telling him. It's like he stomped in all angry that, was it Vernon and Bill and Ted and Joey and Elon, and am I missing anyone? That was a room full of people, were there to deal with Lurky. And Martin's like, why didn't you let me in? Stomp, 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 stomp. It's because you're very bad at things, sweetie. And you should go home and try to explain to us why your husband's with you, because your husband seems really cool and you seem like a really spoiled brat. But good job of showing us that the character isn't who he thinks he is. So,
yes. Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah.
Who else we need to talk about is Haley.
Haley. Oh, poor Haley had a miscarriage, or she thought she might have a miscarriage, but then she was all better. Did anyone remove her little skin-tight bodysuit? I mean, I'm not saying in a prurient way. I'm just saying when one gets brought to the hospital and one is about to get a sonogram, which is already done through a couple of layers. You know, it's done through your flesh and through the embryonic sac, but it's not supposed to go through the jumpsuit. So Haley's sitting there and Bill comes in and she tells him, oh, I saw our baby on the sonogram and he's the size of an apricot and he's so sweet. And then at the end, the big twist was when the doctor said, no, Mrs. Hamilton refused the sonogram. Yeah, I sort of got that when she was sitting there in a one-piece tight bodysuit. I mean, it's been a while since I've had a sonogram. My youngest is 18, but I'm almost sure they had you remove your clothing and then they even put some goo on you because that's supposed to transmit the sound waves. So yeah, Haley, not a great job. Another one who thinks she's so smart and so clever. She stole Bill from Danny, but she claims to have had a medical procedure through her pants. So, well, okay, but to be fair, on General Hospital, didn't Sam give birth to Scout while still wearing her pants? So
yes.
Maybe that's just yes. So maybe it's what they
split
do
out
on
the pant leg, I guess.
Yeah, what was it? Something like she was still wearing her pants, and then suddenly Scout was there. So maybe that's just how they do that in small towns. As I said, I've never lived in a small town, so what do I know?
Maybe we don't have the medical equipment in our big cities to get through layers of clothing for a sonogram.
But that's true, because there's so many people in a big city, and they just have to come through so quickly. I think you're really into something.
Let's talk about Bold and Beautiful, because I got a lot. I
know. When you say Bold and Beautiful, I just sit back and I say, Amber, bring it.
Okay, first of all, I need to talk about Katie talking about Ridge. Honorable.
Those
loyal.
were the words for you. Those were words. Let's actually, you know, I wish we could have a graphic. Go honorable like an electric company. Honorable.
I was like, girl, have you met him?
And she has. And that's the beauty of it. We know she has.
I want to know one marriage that he didn't cheat on the wife. One time.
Well, he's always loyal to himself.
Yes.
Always loyal to himself, so.
And like, Brooke is pining after this man who clearly, why would any woman want him with his history? First of all, there are 8 billion people in this world.
And half of them are in Los Angeles.
Right? Like, and if you want a guy who can design you a dress, like, girl, you're in the right community.
I was gonna say you can hire someone for that. That seems to be the least of it. Meanwhile, what's in it for Katie to be talking up Ridge? I was trying to think: is there some plot point or some motivation I'm missing? Why would Katie talk up Ridge?
Does she want Brooke away from Nick or Bill? Like, what is going on? Does she want to keep her away from the other men?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking because, you know, Bill is her ex, so maybe that was the reason, but I couldn't think. Well, I mean, the reason was because Heather Tom came to work and she was handed, you know, a bunch of papers and she leafed through and it said Katie and she said the words because Heather Tom's a pro. Let's not undersell Heather Tom, but
she's a great actress.
Great actress.
Has been her whole life.
That. Almost. So close. Yet so far away. But even with when we wonder why would Brooke want Ridge, and we wonder why would Taylor want Ridge, but we also have to wonder why did Ridge say yes to Taylor?
Like, do you love her or are you just still mad at Brooke? Which is it? Like today he's like, he goes to see Brooke and she's like, I can't believe you're gonna marry Taylor. You still love me? And he's like, yeah, like I'm always gonna love you, but you're like not my future.
Well, at this point, how much future do they have?
Past, my other past.
How much future does he have? Man's old.
Okay, right? Okay, I think Ridge is aiming for the woman who's going to take care of him best in his old age. And Taylor would have better access to better doctors.
And drugs.
She's
a psychiatrist, right? Which means she's an MD. I can never remember. She's a psychiatrist or a psychologist?
I think psychiatrist.
If she's a psychiatrist, that means she has access to all the drugs.
Yeah. Like, I think he's just aiming for, like, who can put me in the better old age home.
Right, because he knows his children are going to do it.
Thomas is going to be like, here's the river, buddy. Here's the river, swim with the fishes. Like, I'm done with you.
And
right?
then Douglas will have to go tell someone, like, Grandpa Ridge is dead.
Like, for Thomas, it's going to take, like, one minor inconvenience for him to, like, just throw Ridge over a bridge. You know what I mean?
And say he would have wanted it that way.
Steffi would definitely pay for Ridge to be taken care of, but, like, she's not going to want to change his diapers and do all that, right? Brooke is too dainty.
But Brooke enjoys outsourcing, so Brooke could hire someone.
But Taylor would be very hands-on. Ridge would want for nothing because Taylor would spoon feed him, and she would change his nappies, and she would just do everything for him. Because if not, her heart will break, and she'll just be alone and dying of a broken heart. You know what I mean? She'll do whatever.
Like Princess Amidala in Star Wars.
Yeah. So I think that's what the goal is. I think he's just aiming for whoever is going to mother him best in his old age.
Well, it's interesting because you used the word Ridge as aiming for, and my first thought was, has Luna used her gun already?
Not yet.
Whenever I see it, I think of you. Whenever I see the gun, I think of you, Amber.
I swear. Today she's like waving it around at Will. I'm like, oh, we're going to get someone shot. No, she just kicks him out of the house. Get out of my apartment. You're not going to shoot him on the way?
It just seems wrong, doesn't it? Okay,
well,
so
I thought it would be like great poetic justice for Bill to be the one to get her out of jail, get her a pardon, and then she shoots his son.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's understanding. Right? We should put that in the same envelope of our suggestions that we sent to General Hospital. We should send this one to Bold and Beautiful. Because, well, clearly the writers have not read, Chekhov's maxim. If you introduce a gun in the first act, it has to go off in the third act. Now, I realize soaps are not structured that way, but Amber is sad. And doesn't anybody want Amber to be happy?
Like, that would make my day.
So maybe we'll do a special dedication when that gun finally does go off. We'll do a special, they have news breaks that they break into soaps. We'll do a news breaking Soap Obsessed podcast.
Yeah, Amber got her way. Now, we do also need to talk about Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. Well, the first thing is, we were just talking about Billy Flynn on The Young and the Restless. What's funny is he's still airing. He's still airing on Days of Our Lives, which we've had before. I guess because they're both owned by Columbia, they can do that. Because we had the same thing. Remember when Eileen Davidson was appearing on both Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives at the same time? So yeah. I guess because they're probably under contract to the same studio, they can do that. So you've got him on the air on Young and the Restless. You've got him on the air on Days of Our Lives. But we just found out last week that Connor Floyd, who we're seeing on the air on the Young and the Restless as Chance, is about to play Chad. And I gotta say, I like it. I like it. I think it could be interesting. His energy is very different. He's always been appealing, and Young and the Restless just didn't use him to his full capacity. They brought him on with all this fanfare, Chance coming back from the dead, and then they never really knew what to do with him. So I've liked his energy. I think he'll be good, but here's the part that I really like about him. Billy Flynn is charming. Billy Flynn is adorable, but some of the women Billy Flynn has been paired with, I got the impression that if he pissed them off, they would eat him.
Yes.
And I love Sherry Jimenez as Gabby. She just celebrated 1 year. We have an interview with her on Soap Hub, right? On our channel.
Yes.
Ryan spoke to Sherry Jimenez. She's terrific. One of the best recasts I've seen on Daytime. She's fabulous. But if you think of Gabby and Chad, which has been an on-again, off-again thing since before when Camila Banus was playing her, Gabby tended to overwhelm Chad. I don't think Sherry Jimenez will overwhelm Connor Floyd, and I think it could be a very interesting, very different dynamic.
I think so too.
And it would make more sense than Kat. And here's a cool transition. Make more sense. Kat, I'm going to put that into a sentence. So it turns out that Kat, the girl who tried to convince everyone that she was Abigail back from the dead and was going to marry Chad and another one who looked like she could eat Chad, but as a separate thing, she used to work for Shane. They made a point of saying she was an analyst, not a field agent, but Shane knew her, so she decided she was going to pretend to be Abigail, who is, okay, I can do this. Shane is married to Kimberly. Kimberly's the sister of Kayla. Kayla is married to Steve. Steve's brother Jack is the father of Abigail. So would it have been that weird if when Jack and Jennifer were confronted by this woman, and remember, Jennifer didn't believe that she was Abigail. If they were confronted by this woman, would it be that weird for them to send her photo to their brother-in-law, Shane, and say, can you check up on this woman for us? I mean, that almost would have been sort of 101. And even though they didn't do it, how did Kat know they weren't going to do that?
No, right? It sort of messes up the whole thing.
Yeah, and it is. Wasn't she the daughter of Katrina, who was the woman that John thought he killed, but he didn't really? And then there was that Greek guy, and there was something about a tablecloth, and the whole thing's kind of a blur to me. But the point is, we were supposed to think she was this poor, helpless victim that Clyde was holding her mother hostage and using her, but she's an ISA agent?
Yeah, she was an ISA agent worried about Clyde Weston.
Yeah. In fact, isn't there, can't you pick up the phone to like someone else at the ISA, perhaps another analyst, and send them a picture of him, maybe something from North and South with Patrick Swayze, and say, you see this guy? Please terminate him.
Right?
So, and I'm not even sure what Shane wants her to do now. She's supposed to bring down the Damaras. I'm so confused.
I know. It's all over the place, and I'm like, can you just tell us where Abigail is?
Because she's certainly somewhere. Maybe she's with Nell. Maybe Willow's other split personality will be Abigail. I like to connect things together. When I was a kid, and I would like make, and there were a lot more soaps on the air when I was a kid, but I would like to always imagine crossovers and all these fun things. So yeah, let's do that.
I do have to say, though, Annalyn McCord as Kat, she's doing a spectacular job.
Oh, she's fabulous. She's fabulous. I wish
She's so good in everything she does. I was so excited when I found out that she was joining the cast.
No, she deserved a better character. I mean, she either should have been Abigail, straight up
Yes.
Abigail, or just this cool, oh, how about this? An ISA agent comes to town with a secret agenda to bring down the Damaras and falls for Chad while she's doing that.
Exactly.
How's that for a story?
They took her and threw her around into all these storylines that they're like, nope, that doesn't make sense anymore. Let's do this. Nope, that doesn't make sense anymore. Let's do this. And I'm like, you have one of the greatest actresses in the world on your show.
Yeah, she's selling it, but I just don't understand what she's selling because the writing is so confusing. And of course, they had their cross at Andrew and Paul's wedding, where, speaking of which, did she not think Shane would be there, considering that he's a member of the family in which his son is getting married? She didn't think Shane would be there. She could have begged off. She could have said, let's go skydiving, Chad, or whatever it is one does. So she's there. Shane's there. And look, I love Paul and Andrew. I think they're great. I think both actors are great. I think the characters are great. I mean, I never loved the fact that Paul was sort of shoehorned into John's backstory, but it's here, it's done, whatever. So they got married on screen. Because, you know, in a soap, if you get a wedding, that's pretty much the highest pinnacle of soapdom, and now they're going to leave. Now, I know sometimes you marry off a really super popular couple. I mean, they did that with Luke and Laura. They did that with other people. You marry off a super popular couple, and then they ride off into the sunset until they come back, and then off again. Yeah. But Paul and Andrew, I don't know the actors that they don't want to be there, but I have a strong feeling they do want to be there because, like, whenever the story calls for it, the actors are there. So I don't think it's a case of the actors saying we don't want to be there. So why did you get me to invest in Paul and Andrew? Why did you let me watch their wedding, which was very nice, so that they can leave?
Yeah, that was weird, right?
That's not how we soap. So I'd like to see more Paul and Andrew.
Me too. Also, like Will and Sunny. Let's just bring them all back.
Well, I mean, we have Ari. So, although I gotta say, did Will and Sunny strike you as the kind of parents who would let their 18-year-old daughter sneak out at night in the middle of the house, in the middle of the night, out of the house? I mean, I agree that Gabby she lost her mind when her 18-year-old daughter was not exactly where she'd left her. That was a little silly. But do Will and Sunny strike you as the kind of parents who'd be like, oh, sure, Ariana, go sleep with an older guy that you picked up in a bar. We're totally chill. They strike me as, you'll excuse the expression, the straightest parents. And do they look like that?
Very straight-laced, very upfront, and very like, Ari being 18, it wouldn't matter that she's labeled as an adult.
Yeah, no, they although, how old is Chandler Massey? I was going to look that up, and then I didn't. Is he, what, like 2 minutes older than
I'm pretty sure he's like 47 seconds older than her, yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. And he also is baby-faced on top of that. You know, some people, there are some actors who, you know, have been playing old since they were young.
Chandler Massey is 34 years old, and his TV daughter is supposed to be 18.
18. Oh, and I know he did have her as a teen, but he wasn't 10.
Well, I mean, that would have made him 16. Maybe it. I don't know. It just
Is
it
that about
still
right?
feels
I
like
think
he's
it's the baby. I think it's the baby face, and I think it's a bit of the whiny delivery too. He comes off kind of young.
I will never forget him crying, like just being pet all the time. Just every
Well,
time he
he's
gets
another one.
pet.
Remember, we just talked about Martin on Beyond the Gates. He's another one where whenever he tries to be threatening, you gotta go, sweetie.
I'm like,
Why don't you sit down and we'll let Grandpa Roman and Grandpa John, or better yet, Grandma Marlena, or better yet, Mama Sammy,
right?
come in and fix this little problem you have, because I don't think that's your strength. Okay, so that's it for now.
Yeah.
I'm Alina Adams. My book about the early days of soaps is called Go On Pretending, and you can find it wherever books are sold.
And I'm Amber Sinclair, managing editor for Soap Hub. You can find me here every week or on TikTok under the username Destroy the Canvas, where I showcase my silly little illustrative art. Make sure to join us next week when we'll have even more to talk about past and present soaps. And in the meantime, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit soaphub.com, where we have recaps, interviews, and spoilers. And we'll see you soon.